System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' inner city left.
This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Today is Friday, April 10th. I am Amin TMK alongside Amoja, Little Tanky Sumler. Amoja, hello, happy Friday.
What's good, buddy?
Looks like, man, that ceasefire, it ain't working, man. I want to jump into some things if we can. I know you're going to like this, and I know you've been chomping at the bit. We need to talk about losses that the United States has been taking, because it's getting to a point now where the stories where we have to sit and listen to some fairy tale about a pilot getting shot down, going into the mountains with a broken ankle, walking hundreds of miles, being rescued, this, that, and the third. We keep hearing no injuries, no deaths, none of those things. Every broadcast we've done for the last few weeks, you've given us the cost of this war. Can you talk about what this shows, and can you talk about some of the losses that the United States has been taking at the hands of Iran?
So this is a great example of what we've been talking about on the show, which, by the way, that number, just the operational number as it stands of this moment, $41 billion, $663,570,000. That's the amount. That's just the operational cost. None of that counts losses. Now, when you start looking at the cost of some of these assets, you start to see incredible cost. The MQ-9 Reaper is normally, it's about 30 million to 60 million a pop. The math will blow your head, you know? And all of these things, they continue to create what we've talked about on the show about cascading failures, because all of these things are needed to work in tandem on a field, you know, at the same time, most of the time. For example, okay, so let's look at this. The MQ-9 Reapers, those are normally surveillance drones, right? These are things that have to be in the air because, oh my God, most of the very powerful THAAD radars that were in this area have all been destroyed. So what else can you do? Well, you can use the F-35. It also has a little bit of radar signals like an AWACS. You have the Stratocasters that are the Stratotankers. Wow, Stratocaster. The Stratotankers are up there. They can do several things. Some of those do refueling. You know, some of them have been configured for AWACS, you know. So you're losing these. These are all of the things that are giving you an image of the battle space in real time, you know, so that you're not going out there blind, not knowing what the enemy has. So you continually losing your ability to even monitor what the enemy is doing. Now, is this the destruction of the American army? No. The American army is so freaking huge, but this is incredibly inconvenient because all of this stuff is expensive. Some of this stuff, there's not even on the product line anymore. Like F-15s, there are no new F-15s being made. You know, you take the F-15s that were made when they were on the product line and you continue to do like avionics upgrades, software upgrades, you upgrade the radars. Those are things that can be, you know, bolted on that don't really take huge R&D, right? Making new F-15s means opening up the line again, and you're not going to do that. F-35, this is from estimates, anywhere between $300 million plane to a $2 billion plane. When you finish looking at all of the packaging that has to go into it, how much labor is required just to keep it in working entry, okay? So this is crazy. The C-130s, two of those, right? And we're talking about one pilot being rescued, because a lot of these, all of the ones in red are destroyed. So either there was a lot more rescues that needed to happen for these pilots, or the casualty numbers they're giving us are not right. Like, it's one of these two things. That's all you got. These costs are stupendous costs. You know, and some of these things cannot be remade.
Well, if we're just talking about the actual cost, I think you said it was $30 million for an MQ-9 drone, correct? So I count 24 of those. So if we just go by the 30 million, that is the lowest possible estimate we could get. That's $720 billion right there worth of drones, worth the MQ-9s right there. You know, and like you said, 4 F-15s, you know, downed. Okay. So
anywhere from a $20 to $80 million plane, depending on where you're at with the avionics package each.
This is just in the weeds, so we can just be honest with ourselves. Obviously, I don't think that anyone is duped by the Trump presidency and the Trump administration, but we are constantly getting these reports of, oh, minimal casualties. You know, I don't know what the numbers were, 24 or something like that. They're having these proceedings, these funeral proceedings behind closed doors. I believe the F-15 pilot that was in question, he hasn't spoken to his family yet. So taking a zoom back, let's just acknowledge the truth, which is everything they're saying about this war is either has a spin on it or just a flat lie.
Yeah. The two things, I just want to say, the two things that disturb me the most about these losses is one, the F-35, right? Those had never been even targeted and painted in combat before. That has now happened. And it wasn't Russia. It wasn't China. It was Iran. That should tell you something about the capabilities of this enemy. The other thing that truly should be disturbing is the fact that they could bring down an A-10. Because that is an incredibly heavily armored aircraft. You know, it is meant to be a tank in the sky. You don't bring one of those down with one shot. That means that thing came under sustained fire and it brought it down. That's different from like, oh, you know, what the president said, they got the F-35. It was a lucky shot. It was a lucky shot. It wasn't a lucky shot brought down an A-10. That tells me that I'm looking at an enemy that still has air defense capabilities that we have not fully assessed.
Did they not watch Tommy Cruise in the Top Gun Maverick? Did they not see even then what Iran's capabilities were? I'm joking, but they made it seem in the movie that the Iranian fighter pilots, some of the best in the world, some of the most talented in the world. So when I look at sort of the outcomes of the major losses the United States is taking, I don't know why it confuses anyone. I want to say this today. You want to guess how many ships? Actually, yesterday, we heard from Caroline Levitt. Straits of Hormuz is open. Looked at our polygraph test.
Technically.
That was
it's not like a gate on it.
Right. That's true. You want to get into semantics? Yeah. Well, there's 3 ships that came by. Well, usually it's 190 ships. Today, you know how many ships went by the Hormuz Strait? 1. 1 has gone through the Strait of Hormuz today. So I think we can say that the strait is closed. If that's sort of the idea of what a close is, you know, just 5% of the normal ships that go through are going through, which I would consider closed. If you know, in that you know kind of sense, I get that 0 is probably more accurate, but you know, it is what it is. Today, Speaker of Iran's parliament says ceasefire in Lebanon and release of blocked Iranian assets must occur before negotiations begin. There was supposed to be a ceasefire. Didn't happen. Israel violated it immediately with massive strikes on Lebanon, massive civilian strikes, killing thousands of Lebanese. And this is why the ceasefire, you know, whoever said it and who okayed it, I don't think that's relevant, but that is sort of the reality right now. Where are we in terms of this negotiation, and what are we in store for like the next few days, in your opinion, when it comes to these negotiations?
I think the one thing that is very obvious is there's 2 sets of irreconcilable demands. two lists of irreconcilable demands. Someone's demands will be met, someone's demands will not be met. What's going to happen tomorrow is not peace talks. It's going to be a next steps talk, because what's going to happen is the American side's going to go up and the Iranian side's going to go up, and they're going to be like, and we didn't gave you 30 days. You trying to do this some more, or have you had enough? And the problem is they both going to be saying it to each other. Like, the Iranians are convinced they are providing a strategic defeat to the United States and all of the West. The Americans believe exactly the opposite, that they're ending the civilization of Iran. So we're in a place where this is going to have to bloodlet. It's not done yet. It's not everything. Anyone that tells you anything other than that is lying to you. The speaker of the Iranian parliament said on a post on X Thursday night, time is running out for the United States and Israel to honor the ceasefire agreement by putting an end to Israel's attacks on Lebanon. This is not the way that a country that feels like it's been defeated engages itself in international diplomacy. Iran is speaking like a country that understands something very, very truly. The Americans, with their system of targeted assassinations and decapitation strikes, don't seem to really understand the intricacy of this Iranian defense style that they're using, this mosaic, where all of the decision-making is decentralized, and these command centers are inside of granite mountains that have the ability to make their own ballistic missile, their hypersonic missile, inside of granite mountains that are built to sustain even the most severe types of attacks, up to and including nuclear. That's where these facilities are. They're not in they're not in Tehran. They're not in the major cities, because they concede the Americans. There's no way to stop the Americans. If the Americans want to go and bomb the city, they're going to bomb it. They concede that if America wants to hit a target, America will hit a target. And so what their entire military strategy has become is, how do you survive getting hit? That is their mosaic military concept. And they're daring the Americans and all of the West to ruin their navies, trying to pry open the Straits of Hormuz. That is the trap. That trap remains. We have not yet found a clever solution. And it's because of that, and that chokehold that the Straits have on the world economic battery, that they know this is where the attack, and no matter where else the attacks come from, this is the attack that matters the most, and this is the one that we have to be able to defend, all while still being able to project their own offensive capabilities. They, in short, have been daring the Americans to invade. And we'll see. We'll see who's right, because somebody's military strategy is grossly miscalculating the capacity of the others. And only war is going to tell that.
Israel, man, they just do whatever they want. And it's like everyone has to live by a certain amount of rules, but they don't. This was from a Belgian media outlet today. Israel has been using civilian cargo airline to move military equipment across the world. Belgian media RTL revealed today that Belgian authorities uncovered military equipment from the United Kingdom that was supposed to be loaded as the cargo of a Challenge Airlines flight. Again, it just kind of goes back to sort of like I was mentioning, that Israel does not have the same rules as the rest of the world does. And like, whether you want to say that they're causing the dog, the whole is the tail doesn't wag the dog. I get all that. But no matter what you do, it's either the United States or Israel just breaking these rules that in any other situation. I mean, I just could think back to the pager situation. So now you have pagers that get to explode, and we just have to move on with that. No war crime, no accountability of any kind. Not that I expected that. And now you're having to deal with something like this, where do they go from here? What happened to TSA? What happened to all these things? It doesn't apply to Israel.
Well, I have bad news for you, unfortunately. This is one of those things. I'm actually shocked that it's even a story because cartage has moved, freight, right? That's been inconvenient for the military to move. This is not even a new thing. Like, I have close personal experience in working for corporations where their entire only client was United States military. You know what I'm saying? And the things that they flew were military freight, but none of that was registered as a military flight. You know what I'm saying? Like, to them, they're like FedEx for bombs, FedEx for missiles. You know what I'm saying? And it's not something new. Unfortunately, this is one of those things that we're going to need an entirely new framework for moving forward in this 21st century. Honestly, Iran does this, China does this, Russia does this. They fly this type of stuff. All modern militaries do this. And sometimes it's just due to simple logistics. The fact being that commercial shipping, especially if you have a specialty provider, they have a greater capacity to move things because they just have more planes. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one has a greater air force than the United States, but there's lots of companies that have far greater capacity for moving goods. You know what I'm saying? And also the very need moving cartage in this way allows it to be a little bit more discreet. But this isn't a new thing. Everyone does this. And it's unfortunate because I think it's built in propaganda. Like, if something happened to that, you're going to be able to like, oh my God, they're attacking private shipping, but it's like, well, what are you shipping? And who are you shipping for? Who's your client? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but the rules are very loose as it relates to cartage, and I'm pretty sure that when they land on a tarmac, they're not going through the same security apparatus as other organizations. There's probably clearances associated with all of this. It's just commerce.
Yeah, I think the thing is that Belgium doesn't allow it at all in any kind. So, I think that's just like another like aspect. Like, a lot of European countries don't allow it at all. So again, I think it just goes to them to like skirting the rules. Again, it's like the same thing with a lot of these European countries, which I think we can get into, sort of not allowing, the flight paths of, military equipment or drones or whatever it may be to go sort of past their airspace. Spain is doing it, Italy is doing it, France is doing it in some capacity or not. And they know, and Israel knows that, and they understand that these European countries are taking a step back. And I think for them, this, for the Belgium thing, which of course, like you're saying, is a lot more prevalent than we would think. Is just kind of them saying like, I don't care about your rules or whatever it is, or the Belgian government most likely just giving them leeway or whatever. But I think the fact that it's being reported and the fact that people are talking about it is kind of another one of those steps of Europe saying like, we're going to take a step back, which I think should lead us to this right here. Very important sort of realignment of the West, or what the West is, or what the West is going to look like outside of just, America. Donald Trump said this the other day.
Rutte. He's a great person, but he's got, and it all began with, if you want to know the truth, Greenland. We want Greenland. They don't want to give it to us. And I said, bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
He shut that one down pretty quick. And you already sort of had mentioned this, but it does look like, that Western, alignment that Europe has always had with the United States is sort of coming to an end. Obviously, the energy concerns in Europe, the aforementioned the countries like Spain, Italy, France, people taking a step back, and I think also Trump is really hurt that there's not really been any European involvement in the Strait, which I don't imagine would help. But I think Europe is scared, and they're kind of at this impasse here. Where do you see this moving forward?
Yeah, so this puts the Americans in a wonderful position because they have all of the leverage. This is a thing that Trump talks about all the time, the cards, right? Zelensky doesn't have the cards. NATO doesn't have the cards. NATO wants to have war with Russia, though NATO is in no position to do so, certainly not a NATO without the weight of the United States military, right? And so he knows that the Europeans need him. And so to him, that means you are obligated to do every single thing I want you to do immediately. You know, he still doesn't have a true understanding of the capacity for ruin that lies await in the Straits of Hormuz. He's being fed, data all day that says how much we're destroying these simple animals, as he liked to call them, that we could destroy their civilization in a day. Like, he's still under the belief that this is a possible thing, and it's only because of his imminent kindness, right? Because Trump sees himself as a very kind man. Every day I don't nuke you is a kindness. Say thank you. You have to understand that mind state. But I think, once again, it's too dangerous to make this just like, oh, that's Trump. Trump is the face of the American empire right now. And his goals are not his personal goals. I mean, yeah, he wants to get rich. I mean, but he already is. And he wants more money. He wants more power. That's just him, right? That's just the nature of him as a con man. But when you talk about Greenland, that's not for Trump. That's for the American empire. They understand the strategic importance it is to have a landmass that close to the North Pole, how it relates to missile defense and also commercial routes that will be opening up as the Arctic continues to melt. This is about money. This is about legacy. This is about the American empire. This is about expansion. Europe is in decline. That's just undeniable. They've lost the wealth that they had from colonialism. They're no longer competitive as far as manufacturing, thanks to the Americans and the Chinese. They're no longer technology leaders. What they have is legacy wealth, and that wealth is running out. You know what I'm saying? And so to Trump, he's like, Trump is not a fan of people that are not winning, people that are not strong. And it's also worth saying the next war that Israel will be engaging in, if they're in any position to do so after the Iranian war, is Turkey. Now, why is that complicated? America chooses Israel first and foremost over every other thing. And for America and Israel to be able to move against Turkey, a NATO member, the Americans have to leave NATO. So you give them this poison pill. Give me Greenland or I will leave. They don't give Greenland. Now you get to put up this whole like, oh, the Europeans betrayed us and we're going to get it back. Israel's our real friend and we're going to take on NATO. And we'll start with Turkey, right? I mean, the stories write themselves. But the reality is this isn't some kind of big breakup between Europe and the American empire. Europe is a vassal state of the American empire. You do what you're told, and they didn't. This is punishment.
That's a fact. And, just the language of, bye-bye, all of that. And, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's interesting to see. And obviously, Turkey is a major, major power. And we could have another Strait of Hormuz situation, occurring as well. Let's cut it early today. I mean, look, there's a lot more to talk about. There always is. We appreciate all of y'all for rocking with us. Our schedule is all over the place, but we are always trying to give y'all 2 episodes a week for now. Let's give a shout out to our podcast listeners. We're available everywhere you find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. Patreon.com/InnerCityLeft. We love our patrons. You guys are the best and better than all the rest. Fables, Foibles, Other American Sins. Tanky's book of poetry.
Filthy. Go get that. Inner City Left.
Search Amin TMK, Lil Tanky, wherever you find music. We just dropped a song called Filthy, as mentioned by Tanky. Like, subscribe. Tanky, thoughts? What do we miss?
is strap in. We're about to go to the next phase, and it's going to be far, far more bloody. This was round one. This fight will not be ended with a decision. Someone's going to win and someone's going to lose.
Yeah, that's a fact. For Amoja, Lil Tanky Sumler, I am Amin TMK. This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Peace.
System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' Inner City Left.